In the labyrinth of modern dating, breadcrumbing has become all too common in terms of how it affects our relationships and how often it presents in the dating landscape. But when a securely attached person is presented with breadcrumbing, there are four main things that they do differently to not only change the dynamic of the situation, but to ensure that they are ending up with the right people and in the right relationships. And it's my hope for you today that you can take away these four crucial lessons from this video so that if or when breadcrumbing ever happens to you in a relationship, you are not somebody who settles for anything less than you deserve. So, first and foremost, what is breadcrumbing? Well, breadcrumbing is this idea that somebody is literally giving you crumbs rather than the full piece or full loaf of bread in regards to their investment in a romantic dynamic. And what this often leads to is somebody feeling confused, frustrated, concerned about what the outcome is supposed to be in this kind of relationship. And I think it's really important to recognize these four crucial lessons that can help us not fall prey to sticking around in a relationship that's only giving us crumbs for the long haul. So, securely attached people tend to do these four crucial things. And it not only impacts their self esteem, but also ensures that they're dating and investing back in the right people. And the very first thing they do very effectively is they know going into relationships what their non negotiables are and their standards are. And they're not willing to settle for anything less. Now, a big part of the reason why this actually takes place is because securely attached individuals are literally not willing to put up with less than they deserve. A lot of their programming from childhood, a lot of their conditioning and their subconscious set of rules for love are that I'm worthy of love. I deserve to have connection. I deserve to have somebody show up and invest in me. And so, because they have that internal standard and set of beliefs about themselves, if somebody comes and is not a match to investing in a relationship dynamic the way they are looking for, they will literally reject that person because it doesn't feel like a fit for them. But they won't jump right into rejecting because there can be some other context from which breadcrumbing can occur. And this brings me to point number two. If breadcrumbing begins to take place in a relationship dynamic, if somebody starts sending texts really sporadically and periodically, or one word answers, or really just isn't showing up in the way that things might have started off on, they are not quick to jump to conclusions. In fact, they will work to address this red flag and get to the bottom of it and get more information. What we'll often see with more insecurely attached individuals is that we all jump to conclusions of our own worst fears, which often come from our painful experiences from prior relationship events. In other words, you may see an anxious preoccupied when they're being breadcrumbed jump to the conclusion, I am not good enough, or I am unlovable, or I'm about to be abandoned. And then because they're caught in this belief trap and they're seeing things through that lens, because those are usually their previous wounds from past experiences, they'll go out of their way to not get abandoned or to prove themselves as being good enough or lovable or worthy. But in doing that, they're often abandoning their own set of standards and needs in a relationship dynamic. But because they're so fixated on jumping to those conclusions and then avoiding that pain because they associate not being good enough or feeling unloved with a lot of suffering, they go into this external people pleasing mode rather than holding their boundaries. By that same token, if you see somebody who's fearful avoidant or dismissive avoidant, they will often jump to their own worst case conclusions. Things like, I'm about to be betrayed, or somebody must think I'm defective. And that may cause those attachment styles, if they're being breadcrumbed, to completely shut down rather than to potentially pursue. And so, what you'll see securely attached individuals do differently is not jump to these conclusions. And this allows them to have this space to really communicate about what's going on. And this brings me to point number three is that securely attached people will communicate. They will call out breadcrumbing in a relationship and they'll do it directly. They will do it assertively, but they will do it in a non confrontational manner. I think a lot of people tend to associate that if we have to call something out or address it or communicate about it, that it means conflict, which really couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, it can be a huge breakthrough in a relationship to actually convey or communicate a message very authentically and with transparency. So, a securely attached person, if they see breadcrumbing, they're not necessarily going to go in and start a fight or an argument. They're probably going to approach it through something like this. Hey, I noticed that our connection is sort of trailing off a little bit lately, and we haven't been in as much contact. I'm personally feeling a lot more disconnected, and I would really appreciate more consistency in our communication. And so, what they're doing is they're not saying, you're doing this, you're bad, you're negative. They're not starting out in an offensive way that may be likely to start an argument and cause somebody to feel defensive. Instead, what you're seeing is that they're addressing it honestly with a certain degree of vulnerability, but by clearly positively framing what they're looking for by saying something like, I'm looking for more consistency and communication. And what this then allows them to do is know that they're doing their part. Now, I've often said, and you'll often hear this out in the world, that there's, in 100% of a relationship dynamic, we are each 100% responsible for our 50% of the relationship. And so the best that you can do as a securely attached person is communicate what your needs are. Make sure that your standards are being known and do this in a healthy, kind way so that the person can actually hear you. Because if we communicate in a way that's like, you're doing this, or you're bad, or you're not making an effort, you don't care, that kind of accusation, sort of tone or manner, that accusatory manner will often cause somebody to shut down and feel defensive rather than hear your actual need. So by communicating directly and assertively, they're calling attention to something and they're really showing up 100% of the way in their 50% of the relationship. If you're interested in helping make a huge impact on other people's lives while also building financial freedom, I'm offering an early bird 50% discount on our integrated attachment theory relationship certification program that will help you become a certified integrated attachment theory relationship coach and build your own thriving practice by the end of 12 weeks. This 12-week on demand program will help you kickstart your new career by teaching you revolutionary tools and strategies that help clients transform their lives and relationships. Build your own coaching practice and set yourself up for a waitlist of clients and financial success. Even if you have no coaching experience, this program will give you very in depth tools, resources, and confidence to get started in a matter of weeks. And you can learn more information by clicking the link down below. And this brings me to the last step here, which is then they vet for the change. And what they're doing here, a securely attached person, they're making sure that by vetting for change, they're actually making sure that, hey, I've said my piece, I've spoken my part. Now, what happens in your 50% of the relationship? If the needle doesn't move, they'll go back to retaining their non negotiables and standards. They won't put up with somebody who's breadcrumbing. But if the needle does move, then they'll continue to communicate and call out patterns they don't like in a graceful and authentic and respectful way, while making sure that they're also investing in the relationship in a way that matches the other person's investment. And this is how a secure person reacts to being breadcrumbed and how they move the needle out of the situation. Now, I would love for you to check in and see, like, which of those four things am I doing? Am I making sure that I'm retaining my non negotiables and standards? Am I making sure I don't jump to conclusions and story tell and make that person's behavior with breadcrumbing mean something about me? Am I addressing breadcrumbing directly? And once I do, am I making sure that I'm checking to see if the person invests differently and the needle moves? And if I'm not seeing that, then it's time for me to walk away. So check in with yourself in each of these four areas, see where you feel like you could make an improvement, and then have these tools in your back pocket so that you know how to address this type of situation in the future while maintaining the relationship to yourself, to your truth, to your needs, and to your boundaries for what you're looking for in a romantic relationship. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing to this channel. I put daily videos out here all about attachment styles, the subconscious mind, and how to really build the best relationships of our life. And would love for you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any. Thank you for watching and can't wait to see you in the next video.